James Dean is best remembered as one man who lived fast and died very young. Why? I can't say, but one thing is sure, he left a footprint in the sand of time as a movie talent of great repute, a very energetic gentleman with a strong passion to live life to the fullest, but for fate. The Rebel Without a Cause star sent a shockwave among the golden age Hollywood audience with his tragic death, and suddenly fans got to learn that behind his true rebellious nature is a passionate gentleman haunted by a sinister past concerning his sexuality. Famous James Dean is a rare phenomenon, a marvellous movie bad boy talent, a name almost every golden age Hollywood enthusiast would remember, and though very few were opportune to meet him in person for an obvious reason. Behind his rebellious persona were other secrets that were not in the public eye. Many have continued to ask questions and are more preoccupied with circumstances surrounding the death of the star than about his personal life before he came to the limelight. Beyond the mysterious crash that would consume the life of a legend, there seems to be something more troubling about the actor's life before his demise, different from his entertainment career and the need to achieve stardom. We heard of his tumultuous relationships, especially the shattered engagement with Anna Maria Piangeli, who later declared that Dean was the only man she ever loved. But very few knew about the very personal issue that may have troubled the actor from his teenage years. Dean, who died at the unfortunate age of 24, had sparked a lot of debate as to what may have led to his death. Different theories have been postulated as to what may have led to the accident in the first place. Was he driving under the influence? Was his car faulty? Was it overspeeding, since he was also fingered for excessive speeding? Or was it just a mere driver's mistake that could have come from either of the two cars involved in the crash? None of the above questions seem to provide a concrete answer as to what may have transpired, and so some of us are beginning to explore the possibility of an emotional mindset as a reason for the crash. And with some of the revelations about the secret emotional disorder in Dean's life before his death, it seems like a credible idea to start investigating how his state of mind could have played a role in his ill-fated demise. Recall that soon after that incident rumours began to fly around about Dean's personal life, with many linking him to homosexual acts, which was traced to his ugly beginning as something that led him to a wayward religious man who exploited his innocence. What other lesser-known secrets do you know about James Dean? A man whose issue went down in history as one of the most tragic Hollywood stories. I heard that his father did not agree with his choice of career. James Dean was so passionate about what he does, and some pointers suggest he was a jealous type. He also enjoyed magic tricks and may have practised some in his leisure hour. As if he knew that fate had something sinister waiting for him, Dean lived his life to the fullest within the brief period he lived, living the life the way he deems fit, caring less about his appearance. Before his movie breakthrough, things were so rough financially for him that he often passed the night inside his car because he could not afford to pay his rent. It was not an issue if he slept in a 5-star hotel or his car, because he was simply targeting stardom and making the right sacrifices. Dean stormed Hollywood with his peculiar style of acting that saw him doing his shows different from what the script directed, and as you now know, managed to live a lasting legacy that impacted the few people that encountered him on and off camera, including his co-star, movie sensation Elizabeth Taylor. The iconic Elizabeth Taylor, before she died, had disclosed what is today known as a secret she'd kept for a long time about James Dean. Both actors were friends, and in the course of their interaction she had gotten a hint of something very private about him. Taylor had kept the information to herself, even though she once confided in another person about the issue, which was supposed to remain off record until her demise. Following the death of Taylor, the public got to hear that he had revealed to her something that preoccupied his mind almost all day. The lyric was that Dean had an affair with a minister, and it haunted him, and of course became essentially his sexual awakening. Born James Byron Dean in 1931, somewhere in Marion, Indiana, Dean is the only child of Mildred and Winton Dean. His hard-working father would leave farming to become a dental technician, leading to Dean's relocation with his parents to Santa Monica, where he joined Brentwood Public School around Los Angeles, and later in the McKinley Elementary School. It seems while his father was busy working, so he can provide for his young family, little Dean spent much of his time with his mother. Historians who wrote about him say he was so attached to his mother Mildred to the extent that she was the only person that truly understood his feelings as a child, but little did he know that tragedy was lurking behind. 9-year-old Dean got the first shock of his life when the one person he loved, his mother, died of cancer-related complications. Soon after, little Dean was sent to live with his relatives, where he laboured on their farm in Fairmont. After his father remarried, it seems young Dean was left to decide his fate, and at some point as a teenager he was said to have sought the guidance and acquaintance of a religious man identified as James DeWeerd. Under DeWeerd, Dean went through a lot, with several accounts suggesting that he had a foundational influence on him. His interest in bullfighting, car racing, and even movie house has also been linked to his stay with the fellow. Some of the things that Dean experienced while living with DeWeerd may have inspired in part this article because of the rumours that have continued to pop up about Dean's bisexual inclination. Even though everything remains sketchy and more prominent as hearsay, even as new theories continue to surface about it. Apart from what Taylor had revealed, another fellow who also hinted at this is Billy J. Harbin, saying that Dean was in an intimate relationship with his pastor. In his view, Billy noted that their connection began in his senior high school years and would endure for many years. There's also Paul Alexander's publication about Dean that discussed an alleged sexual relationship that may have taken place while he was with his mentor. Over the years, several reports have emerged talking about Dean's life and suggesting he may have been manhandled by DeWeerd, either as a kid or in his late teenage years. Even before Taylor narrated her version of the story, explaining how Dean confidentially told her about his relationship with a minister 2 years or so following his mother's death. Academically brilliant James Dean was a popular student, a sociable fellow, who was also very active in school sports, especially baseball and basketball, had a high interest in drama, and took part in public speaking competitions. On leaving Fairmont High School, he returned to California with Max, his pet dog, and stayed briefly with his father and stepmother. At this time, his father favoured a law career for Dean as he joined Santa Monica College for pre-law courses, but it seems his interest was somewhere else, the reason he changed to drama after switching over to UCLA, a move his father vehemently opposed. His bureaucratic father didn't think an entertainment career was good for his stubborn son, because he considered it a risky and unconventional source of income. But sooner, Dean began appearing in plays before he finally ditched academics to follow his movie career, to the total chagrin of his father. Dean's earliest screen appearance was in 1950 when he showed in a TV commercial marketing soda pop. He was not one of your best-dressed actors because Dean was often seen in corporate events in casual wear, sometimes wearing clothes fastened by safety pins. At other times he would show up without wearing a shoe. This is why some people thought that he never bothered about his appearance, which critics also linked to his rebellious nature that was perfect for this kind of sex symbol prestige constantly showcased. Narrating what she was told, Elizabeth Taylor hinted that Dean was corrupted by a man he trusted, a member of his local community. When Jimmy was 11, he began the affair. I think that haunted him, Taylor reported, adding that, in fact, I know it did. Taylor said that she had a lengthy discussion with Dean about the issue as the two appeared on the set of Giant. We'd stay up nights and talk, she noted, as Dean ultimately expressed his feelings to her, and this was one of the things he disclosed. The seduction experience back then is now talked about by analysts when the issue of his sexuality pops up in the public space. This same connection is often referenced and indirectly used as evidence to advance the theory of Dean's sexual orientation by those championing the rumour. Some say they knew Dean personally as one who enjoyed physical intimacy with fellow men and emotional connection with women. Expectedly, the gossip had led to a direct inquiry by the media, of which the Rebel Without a Cause star interestingly told fans that he was not a homosexual, but I'm not going through life with one hand tied behind my back. The historian who wrote about him also talked about the age-long gossip insinuating that it was Dean's first sexual experience after he was seduced by a resident pastor. Several years after Dean's accidental death from his Porsche Spider convertible, dubbed Little Bastard, as it bumped into an oncoming vehicle, the argument about his sexuality refused to go away. While some thinkers postulate that his love for speed is the most likely cause of the accident, his companion at the time of the crash disputed that suggestion because he obeyed the requisite speed limit and added that the second car driver turned left into their lane. All that remained as accusation and suggestion because the fact about the incident remains in the balance. But another school of thought is trying to see how Dean's emotional psychology on that very unfortunate day could have played a role in his death. I still recall ladies saying Dean was such a jealous lover. His girlfriend, actress Beverly Wills, once recalled how he broke up with her after she responded to another man who asked to dance with her. Wills also hinted how he supposedly seized the guy by his shirt collar and threatened to dirty his face if he ever crossed his way again. I also heard that Dean practiced magic. In addition to his racing cars hobby, Dean tried doing mystic tricks in his spare time. Is this also part of his bad boy character? Maybe something he does for fun. For instance, a heavy cigarette smoker, Dean would put an ignited match and an unlit cigarette inside his mouth simultaneously, and when he brings it out, the unlit cigarette will be burning with a flame, something he leisurely did to make people faint. Legendary James Dean managed to feature in only 3 movies, of which 2 were yet to be released before his death. His fame did not just soar, he earned posthumous Oscar nominations for the 2 films, Rebel Without a Cause and Giant, and made history as the first Hollywood star to earn a double posthumous Oscar nod. That was how the American movie icon and fine gentleman became a legend, with just 3 movies to his credit through his lifetime. Interestingly, Dean was a man who was satisfied doing things his way, with his peculiar habits, including not sticking to the script. His acts were even more outstanding that producers allowed him to express his talent the way he pleases. It was thought that long before improvising on set became an acceptable practice, Dean was doing so naturally. Dean enjoyed being creative on set, which often confused his screen co-stars. Ronald Reagan, who was once an actor before he became the US president, was among those who criticized Dean's style of acting, but it did not bother the rebel master. Ironically, Dean was quoted to have jokingly said he didn't think he would live more than 30 years, owing to his love for race cars and bullfighting. Reports have it that on the night of that incident the likes of Sal Mineo, Nick Adams, Natalie Wood and Richard Davalos, who all played with him in Rebel Without a Cause, had gathered at dinner and talked about Dean and his newest car. They informally concluded that he may get into an accident soon with the way he drives. Alec Guinness also reported how he told Dean that the car may be his death trap. One place that James Dean would ever be grateful to is the actor's studio, where he studied under Lee Strasberg. This is where he met the likes of Marlon Brando, who was also rumoured to have affected his life in some way. This was obvious in a message Dean sent to his family around the time, describing it as the greatest school of the theatre and the best thing that can happen to an actor. Screenwriter William Bast is one peculiar friend Dean had, and the nature of their relationship was somewhat complicated. They were roommates at UCLA and later in New York, and remained in contact throughout the remaining part of Dean's life. There were rumours also of the two being in a sexual relationship, even though they each had their different girlfriends. When Wills and Dean began dating, she was quoted to have told Bast, "There's something we have to tell you. Jimmy and me, we're in love." Bast, who also created Dean's first biography, would not talk about the nature of their relationship until recently in a book titled Surviving James Dean. Bast told fans that they made love one night at a hotel in Borrego Springs, although the circumstances of their affair were difficult, the book stated. Before you leave, we invite you to stay a little longer and explore the fascinating world of Hollywood legends. Our next video will delve into the intriguing question, was Brad Davis hiding his homosexual identity?